This is a video that is about food addiction and giving up food addiction. Now, every raw foodist, every vegan, every person that's kind of aligned with a healthy diet has an experience of giving up various food addictions, and it's the only really way to go if you want to get healthy is get rid of some of the food that you're eating for forever. Just throw it out of your life forever. A lot of people want to cut down on things and just have a little bit now and then. That doesn't really work for most people. You need to face the idea that you want to be giving up things for good, and you want to give up especially things that you're addicted to. Now, I think that addiction is an important point. When I was younger, it was clear to me that the last thing you want to do is get addicted to something, especially something that is bad for you. And I always connected something being addicted with something being bad, because it generally seemed that they connected. So smoking was the big thing. So smoking is bad for people, but it wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't addictive, because people would just give it up quite easily. But the fact that it's so addictive means that people can't give it up for years and years and years. And it's the same with other things that are addictive: drugs, alcohol. So I always connected all these things. And whenever I thought that something was addictive, I thought I want to try and get away from that or get rid of that from my life. And still now I think about all sorts of addictive patterns and habits and how to make improvements. So when I noticed, for example, when I was younger, that I was addicted to sugar, refined sugar, I started to take action eventually to make changes. But I've went through different times of giving up different foods, different products, and I want to go through. It's a similar process every single time, and some people who have never been through that process maybe think, well, they're not strong enough, or they're not going to get through it, or they're not going to give up something. But you just have to become aware of the process and be persistent with it, because it's pretty much the same every time. So I've tried to write up on this board, but I know it's probably backwards, but I'll just read out from it. I tried to write up kind of the stages that I've really realised. The first is, you start from a place of some kind of addiction, where the addiction would be you're getting too much of something you don't want. You basically can't. You're just continually having this thing. You're starting to see it's having some bad side effects, and really you can't go without it, and you act completely different to it than other foods that you eat and other things that you eat. And some people will often say to me, because I eat a lot of fruit, they say you're addicted to fruit. But the mindset of eating fruit is completely different to the mindset of eating refined sugar, for example, something with refined sugar. And the same with certain types of cooked food and certain other things. It's a different shift. Fruit is always a conscious decision. You're making a choice. Eating a salad is always pretty much a conscious decision. But some other foods, a lot of other substances, their brain becomes disengaged, and a different thing comes in and starts pulling them towards it, and they stop thinking, and they're kind of thinking, well, I don't really want this, I know it's not good for me, and I'm just eating it now, and I don't even know. It's a completely disengaged, weird kind of thing that people go through. If that makes sense to you, then maybe you have a food addiction you want to get rid of. But the first step was obviously, like anything, realising and accepting the situation. You're addicted to this thing. You don't want to go anywhere without it being there, without it being an easy access. And just being honest. That's the first thing. Being honest. Being honest that it has power over you. That's the thing that people don't want. They don't want to accept that it has power over them, because a lot of people are quite egotistical in how they control their life and run everything, and they don't want to accept that this relationship with a certain type of food that actually has some control and power over them. So you have to be humble enough to accept that. Some people never are, and so they never make changes. So they will go through their life saying, well, I can give up cigarettes anytime I like. I can give up drinking anytime I like. And it's just a lie, complete lie, because they will make sure that their life is it accommodates that. They'll make sure they're not in a situation where they can't get access to that. So it really defines their life in many ways. The second stage is actually to make a decision to change. And most people don't do that. So people will realise they've got a problem, but they won't actually make a decision, yes, I am going to stop doing that. A lot of people, that is hard for them to even say, or that's hard for them to even think. It's almost unthinkable, because they don't really want to give it up. You know, they've not quite got to the stage yet where they've got the understanding in mind as to why to give it up. So that's a point, is to try and list the benefits of you giving up things and look into the research and all that kind of thing. So you need to make a decision. I am going to stop doing this, and that's just it. Regardless of how long it'll take, when it'll happen, I am going to do this. I am going to change. I am going to fix this. The third stage I've put down here is a person will then delay. Rarely will a person go from, right, I realise I've got an addiction, I'm going to stop it, I'm going to stop right now. There's generally some kind of delay period where they can think about it, research it, look into it, get assistance, go somewhere, and that delay period can take years and years and years as well. A person can think, there's a lot of people that maybe think, well, I'm going to go vegetarian someday, I'm going to go vegan, I'm definitely going to go vegan, but they just, they delay it, they don't really think about it. They maybe every now and again meet a person or something, but they've not really got to that stage yet where they want to take action. So the next stage is when they're taking action, generally something has enthused them to actually go and do something. Something has made them passionate about making a change. They've met someone, they've heard a talk, they've read a book, something's happened, something in their life, maybe a negative thing in their life, like someone saying, oh, you're really fat or something, or something really negative's happened, and it's made them go, right, I'm going to do it right now. It's just, it builds up and builds up and builds up into a point where you tip over and you say, right, it's time to do something. That is coupled generally with a lot of enthusiasm. So the person is like, this is it, I'm doing it, I'm giving it up, never again. And what comes in is another emotion called pride, where a person starts going around telling everyone, I'm giving up the cigarettes. So it's interesting, all the emotions that are involved here, because your pride or your ego can stop you from even saying that it's got power over you, and then your ego, your pride, the enthusiastic phase will make you believe that it's going to be so easy, and that's you giving up, and that's it, and you're enthusiastic and you're full of energy and you're going to tell everyone. And I had a friend that when he gave up cigarettes, he would literally, every person he bumped into, he would say, I'm giving up cigarettes, because he was getting validation from it. He was getting people saying, oh, that's really good, well done, that's good for you. And unfortunately there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of people that they will continue to go back and forth, because they enjoy the validation, the when they fail. And this is a big thing for a lot of people. A lot of you need to think about this. When you fail, are you getting support, hugs, affection from people that you maybe generally aren't getting? Or is this a strategy for you to get attention? That's why I never really, when I gave up things, I never went around telling people, because I know I want it to be for me. I don't want it to be for the attention of other people, which means very little to me compared to my health or compared to my future goals. And that's what I would say to you. You should really think about that. So we're going from a realization stage, realize you've got the problem, making a decision, often going into a point where you're actually delaying doing something, but that's fine, that's just part of it. You've made a decision in your mind, and it takes a while for that to filter through. You start looking into it, researching it, you develop enthusiasm, or some kind of event happens, and you can actually create that to happen by actually going meeting people and trying to build that enthusiasm, and you take action. And in this enthusiasm phase, be aware, I would say, to do it for you. Think about this is for you. This isn't for telling other people you're 100% raw, or anything else like that. That's not going to work long term. They're not going to give you that attention. Stop doing things for other people's attention like that. This is for you, and you can go and tell everyone when someone comes and asks you about it, then then tell them, but don't go around telling everyone how many days you've given up cigarettes. Very quickly, there's a loss of enthusiasm. So the first time you try going without the addiction, you think to yourself, this is easier than I thought. I've got all this enthusiasm. I can't imagine doing it again. That's me, finished it forever. And so this is where addiction is such an emotional thing, about knowing who you are, knowing yourself. Understand, this is why going 100% raw vegan is an incredible learning experience about yourself, because you get rid of all those addictions, and then you see them popping up here and there. But you need to really look and be self-aware of your own emotions and go, this is going to be hard. And even though I'm really enthusiastic right now, and I need to be humble enough to say, this is going to be hard. I'm really enthusiastic. I don't think I'm ever going to do it again, but I know that typically people will fail and go back. So I've got this loss of enthusiasm after a couple of days or one day. Usually it's that kind of time frame, like going from high enthusiasm to like no enthusiasm. You start to question, and this is where the mind comes in, where the emotions come in. You start to question, why am I really doing this? Is there really a good point to do this? Did I really think this through? You start to have doubting thoughts. So that's kind of the next phase, is a little bit of doubt comes in. And along with that, and that often will crumble your attempt at giving up. So most people, they will try an attempt at giving up, get some enthusiasm. It's probably not, they've not fully got to that stage where they're through with it, but they hope that enthusiasm will pull them through. But that enthusiasm dies after a day or two, and the person goes back. So they go back to have a cigarette, they go back to eating chocolate or whatever the thing is. So that's really the first phase of the action. After that is a number of phases. So you go from this loss of enthusiasm, you get temptation. Often you succumb to the temptation. By the way, that's not bad. That's what everyone does. This is part of the process. And you wind all the way back to an earlier stage, usually the kind of delay stage, where you're just delaying, thinking about it, researching, focusing on other areas of your life before you can get back to getting enthusiastic about it, taking action. What typically happens is the next phase, the next time you get back to taking action, enthusiasm, you make a breakthrough. You go farther than the first time often, because you're now aware that the first time you went 1 day or 2 days, you know you can do that. You've got the confidence to know that the enthusiasm phase, part of that whole thing is the actual fact that you've went 1 day and you're amazed at yourself you went 1 day without the thing, because you thought you would never go out without it for life. So you've went 1 day or 2 days, but then you had the loss of enthusiasm, which is natural, and you went back and you had temptation. You then move. The next time you go, well, I'm not going to fall for that again. I'm not going to fall for the loss of temptation. I'm going to be humble. I'm going to realise that it's harder than I think. I'm not going to go around maybe telling everyone about it. And you make a breakthrough. So the next time you go to 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. So you get through the loss of enthusiasm phase, and you get through the kind of doubting phase. But what you will get through is the secondary, another phase, which is where you think now the addiction's gone, and you convince yourself. Often this will happen. 5 days into it, 7 days, you think, I don't even want that anymore. I don't want cigarettes anymore. I don't want cooked food anymore. I don't want cheese anymore. You believe that you really think that that's it gone now. Understand? You actually convince yourself, I think that's it gone. And the weird paradox is you say to yourself, well, what I can do is I'll just have it every 5 days and that won't be so bad. So this is the kind of thoughts that go through people's minds with addictions. They're looking for what is called a bargain. It's bargaining in the in the terminology of like death and loss and that kind of thing, there's the different stages of the end of a relationship and bargaining. Oh, I'll do anything, God, I'll do anything if you just bring her back. You're trying to make a bargain. So you're bargaining with yourself, like, oh, I think the addiction's gone now, or I think I've got control of this. I'll just do it once every 5 days. I'll just do it once every week. I'll just do it once a month. That's a secondary delusion that we all go. By the way, every time you try and give up a different thing, every time you try and give up meat, cheese. Well, meat for me was different. I gave up that pretty much 100% straight away. But other things that are really addictive, maybe salt or sugar or certain specific things like that, cooked food, you're going to go back again and again. And each time you give up something else, you're going to say to yourself, even though you know the process, like I know the process of how this happens, you still fall for it every time. It's just natural. It's just part of it. It's just what addiction is. So, but you get the breakthrough, and so you're likely to go back. So that's actually after stage 2. So stage 1, you give up pretty quickly. You lose your enthusiasm. Stage 2, you go a bit further. Now you know it's going to be a bit harder. You take it a bit further. You've learned a bit more, but then you start to bargain with yourself. So you get a bargaining phase where you think, yeah, I can maybe go through this or whatever. And then the next time, and then this kind of process happens again and again and again. You go back to you go back to the delay stage, the decision stage. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And that's what you have to do. Be persistent. It's about emotional mastery. Personal emotional mastery is what giving up addictions, changing your habits is all about. Being so aware of the various emotions that you have, being so aware that you're going to fail, you're going to go back into temptation, but that's just part of the path. You're going to go back to what you think is the start, but it's not the start. You've went further along, even though you're still doing the thing. So obviously the second phase, you think you've kind of given it up, and this can happen a number of times where a person goes for 7 days, right, I think I've given it up now, 2 weeks, a month, I've went a month without it, I think I can have it again. It's just a weird thing. They think, I'll just have it once every while. That never works. You always go straight back into doing it, so be aware of that. And be aware of the fact that you're going to do that, you're going to think that, and you're going to fall for it, and you're going to go back to the kind of delaying stage. But what happens if you just keep thinking to yourself, be confident and think, I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. And think, just keep on thinking about it. Keep on believing it. Keep on visualising it. I know this is a long video, but I think some of you are going to get a lot out of this. And keep coming back to this stage where you try again, and you try again. And sometimes you really think, I've got it. I've got it. Beat this time. So I'll just go and have it again. And it happens. And people are like, well, it wasn't that bad after all. You have all of these thoughts come to your mind. It really wasn't that bad. And there was enjoyable things about it, and it really wasn't. And you have to go back and prove it to yourself, this really isn't what I want. And that can be with the delay phase, is you going through a couple of weeks of having the addictive substance again, and getting to the point, this really isn't worth it. It was better when I was raw. It was better when I wasn't smoking, whatever it is. Eventually, you go through this process. You go again and again and again, and try again and again to give it up, and you eventually get to a point where you realise how difficult it's going to be. You understand the various pitfalls that are there, but you also have got to a point where you've kind of had enough, and you're going, right, I'm really going to do this now, and you're prepared to put in the hard work. So every time the thought comes up to go and eat the thing or do the thing, you go, right, and sometimes you can do like 2 weeks where you've not even thought about it, and you think, that's me, I'm done, I'm clear. But really, it's with addictions, with strong addictions, you've got to think about being aware of it for 6 months, a year, being aware of the temptation coming back in 6 months or a year. A lot of people say 30 days. Think about a year. Think about going for a year without it. before your body's just completely like not respond. Well, so you get to the stage that you have the cigarette and you go, wow, gee, that's terrible. Like your body doesn't have a defence to it anymore or something. I've never smoked, so I don't know if that's really what it is. But with certain types of I used to react really badly with. I started to get really aware when I was having a lot of sugar. I started to be aware of that. So I started to immediately get a bad feeling after it, or get a bad reaction or whatever, and I'd have a bad experience the next day, usually stuff like that. So it took me, going back to it and feeling that a number of times before I really made that decision to change. But over the course of the year, it was really like a year of saying no, a year of saying no to it and saying yes to other things. So that's what you have to really do, is replace the addictions with other things that are maybe equivalent or a kind of healthier version. Obviously, we're giving up sugar. You can eat fruit. It's that kind of thing, and that's so that's where you get to. But realize that it's all emotion. It's all stuff in your mind. It's your mind bringing up, oh, remember that time you had such fun with your friends when you ate that stuff, and remember how your family and all that, and all this stuff comes up in your childhood, and all these memories come up. You've just got to say no to it. This is just you. This is you just getting rid of it all. It's just you getting rid of the connection to the addiction. So you really want to go through this process. Realise you're addicted. Be humble about it. Realise it has power over you, and a lot of people will never accept that, so they never make changes. Make a decision. You are going to do it, and say it to yourself. Think about it. Believe it. Envision yourself without it. Basic kind of thing. But you're not trying to pressure yourself or force yourself. You just keep on building that enthusiasm. Eventually, you have a breakthrough where you actually go a day without it, a week without it. You get to a point where enough is enough. And once you start taking action, every time you take action, you start to learn the process of being without it. You start to learn the different emotions and mindsets that are going to come up, the different pitfalls, the thoughts that are going to come up to try and tempt you back, all these different temptations. And there's so many complex types of temptations to pull you back. There's so many ways. This is how creative the mind is. We can find so many ways. And as a raw vegan, I just see the creativity of how many reasons people have. Sorry, I think the video jumped there, but I see the creativity of how many reasons people have to continue to eat cooked food, to continue to eat meat, to continue to drink alcohol, to continue to continue to have an unhealthy lifestyle, essentially. And there's really no rational reason to have an unhealthy lifestyle when you know how to be healthy. There's not really any long-term good benefit to it. But people will continue to choose it because of this irrational process of being addicted to something. So you really want to try and take action, but you want to realise that this is going to be it takes emotional mastery, real awareness, persistence, trying it again and again and again, improving each time, and understanding that at some point you get to a breakthrough. And even if you've gone like a month without it, you think, that's me done it. Be humble and aware enough to know I might still go back to it. I might still go back to that addiction. I've just got to stay aware. And if it happens, it's okay, because I've still got the rest of my life to to give it up, And but you can go 30 days and go right back to being totally addicted, So people that say 30 days is enough to break a habit, I don't think so. I think your body's still, pretty used to it still, and and you really want to think about a year, 2 years, and by that point you really have broken the addiction. A lot of people, with Alcoholics Anonymous, they say you never go back. If you take one sip of whiskey or alcohol or whatever, then they go right back, and they have, even after years and years of being free of it. And I think that's really, I can't really imagine that that's true, but apparently that is true, but it's not. I've not seen it with food. Generally, what I've found is if I've tried something that before I was addicted to and struggled to give up, I feel a sensitivity to it when I go, oh, that didn't really make me feel good, and I don't feel drawn to have it again and again and again. But that's after, a year or 2 years or whatever. There's still plenty of things that I just don't touch because I don't really believe that and it is that kind of humble thing of I don't think that I'm strong enough to try and give all that stuff up again and again and again. I don't want to try out what will it feel like to eat potatoes, or what will it feel like to eat rice, and I accept that I might do that. I accept that I might do that at some point. I've not done that for 4 years, but I accept that might happen. That I'm maybe not. That I'm a human being. That I have weaknesses and flaws and moments where I might do something in a funny moment or because of the situation or whatever it is. But I don't consciously want to move towards that or make a decision like I'm going to try that out and see how it makes me feel after 4 years raw. I don't think personally that I don't want to take that risk for a start, that I go back to that and then have to spend another 6 months, a year making those changes again. So this has been a long video, but I really wanted to try and cover this. I mean, I could probably do a whole book or something on this process because I've been through it so many times and I've been so aware of it. And I'm still going through it with various things. There's still things that I've not had that are, either raw items or raw-ish items or whatever, that I started to realise this isn't good. This isn't, I'm treating this like an addiction. I don't want to have this every day. This isn't right. And I've seen it in other people that have been fairly long-term raw, where they treat certain things, that you can see there's a little bit of an addiction there or whatever. So you really want to try and you really want to move away from these addictions, really. And the last thing to say is it is about persistence, and I just see the ego of people that think, oh, I'm just going to give this up and it's really easy, when thousands of people haven't. I see the ego of people that say, well, my body rejected raw food, or my something rejected raw food, or I could never go raw. And you think, well, that's a lot of people. That's not you. Stop thinking that this is like you're the special one. This is one of the biggest lessons that raw vegan taught me. One of the biggest lessons that natural hygiene, whatever you want to call it, it taught me that we're all very, very similar. We don't all have a different diet. We have a species-specific diet. There might be certain different expressions of it. You might enjoy one fruit and I don't enjoy it, but that is still a species-specific diet. And at the end of the day, if there was nothing else to eat, I would eat that fruit too. If there was nothing else to eat, so I would eat it. I might not enjoy it, but I'm going to eat that over eating rocks or mud or grass or something. It's our species-specific diet. So the ego of people think I'm the special one that can't eat raw food. I'm the person that can't do that. I'm the person that needs cigarettes. I'm the person that alcohol is, I need it for my creativity, for my job, I don't know. All the kind of ideas that people come up with. The best, recently I know this is a long video, but a lady said to me, she can't go vegetarian because of her avatar. She was part of some spiritual group, and the master of the group, who's deceased, apparently said that she shouldn't be a vegetarian or something. I mean, this is people looking desperately for weird reasons. You're the special person that doesn't need to go vegetarian. You're the special person that it's okay for other, for you to promote the killing of animals for food. It's funny, but that's where addiction takes people, into weird places. And you want it. I'm telling you, if you master addiction, or if you get even close to it, you will start to really become aware of yourself as a person, as a human. And some of the people that you meet that are raw, that have made big changes, they're some of the humblest. They're sometimes some very humble people, because they're very aware. They've had to become very aware to make those changes, or they've been very motivated. So I hope that this video has helped. Realise that you've got an addiction, maybe make a decision, research it, think about it, become comfortable with it, develop